In 3.0 there isn't just Blood Tithe. After Sentinel, a new unit will be joining, this time for Dynamo, CHARON. Welcome to his build guide. CHARON is a spirit support that excels in buffing allies, debuffing enemies, provide crit rate, mass attacks, genesis damage, and dynamo generation. He also builds up Shockwave that he will then use to trigger its mass attack and accumulate consternation stacks, which will further boost his kit. Let's go ahead and learn more about him. CHARON's Insight 1 lets him deploy Pulsing Field automatically when the round starts. He will also gain Amplified Surge, and at the end of the round will transfer up to 20 stacks of Dynamo into the field. If Pulsing Field is level 3, for every excess stack of Dynamo, CHARON will gain 1 stack of Shockwave, and for every excess Moxie by the team, he will gain 20 more stacks. CHARON will also gain 20 to 40 stacks of Shockwave when an enemy or ally is defeated. Lastly, for every 40 stacks of Shockwave gained, he will gain 1 Consternation for 4 rounds. This is very important, so keep that in mind. Amplifying Surge is a buff that makes him able to immediately upgrade the Pulsing Field to level 3 instantly. This buff also gives him 40 stacks of Dynamo. After activating Pulsing Field level 3, he will also gain 50% penetration rate and Simplified Ritual to himself and the ally in front, a buff that makes the ultimate not consume AP for that one instance. Shockwave is what he will be accumulating through his whole kit. It's a stackable counter that is used by CHARON to trigger some abilities. Consternation is gained through Shockwave accumulation and is a buff that gives 5% penetration rate to himself, stacking up to 10 times. Moving to Insight 2, it's just a 5% attack boost, and Insight 3 makes it so CHARON will inflict Fear of Death for 2 rounds on enemies whenever they join battle. When he enters battle, he will gain 20 stacks of Dynamo and 50 stacks of Shockwave, 2 Moxie, and for every other Spirit or Intelligence ally, he will gain an extra Moxie up to 2. Now that we know his Insight, let's check his skills. His skill 1 is a debuff called From the Void. It's a mass attack dealing 200 to 500% mental damage to all enemies. It also provides CHARON with 20 to 50 stacks of Shockwave and inflicts Fear of Death on the enemy's hit for 2 rounds. Fear of Death is a debuff that reduces the enemy critical defense by 20%. For every stack of Consternation CHARON has, this debuff will further amplify itself by 5% up to 20. If 4 or more stacks of Consternation are present, the enemy will also get a 30% damage taken debuff. Lastly, after being attacked, if the enemy HP is below 20% of his max, when Fear of Death is inflicted, it would deal a big amount of Genesis damage. Look at it like some sort of execute. His second skill is a buff called Advice from the Dead. It's a mass buff. CHARON will gain 20 to 50 stacks of Shockwave and give all ally Peaceful Soul for 2 rounds. Peaceful Soul is a buff that gives allies 30% critical rate. When attacking, for every Consternation stack CHARON has, they will gain 5% extra critical rate, up to 20. If 4 or more stacks of Consternation are present, 80% of excess critical rate will also be converted into critical damage. His ultimate is called New Blooms of Life and it's a self-channel. CHARON gains 1 Moxie and removes all his incantation cards from the spell dock. For each card removed, he will gain 20, 30 or 50 stacks of Shockwave based on its rank. CHARON will then enter the status Shadows of the Past. If already under said status, it will instead reset the Shockwave consumption count. Shadows of the Past is a channel. At the end of the round, CHARON will automatically cast Day of Remorse at no Shockwave stacks cost. Then, each subsequent trigger will increase the cost by 50 until it runs out. When this happens, the channel ends. Day of Remorse is a mass attack. It deals 150% mental damage to all enemies and it's enhanced by 60% ultimate might. For every stack of Consternation though, it will deal an extra 50% with 10% increased ultimate might boost. For every 5 stacks of Shockwave, CHARON will also get 1 Dynamo. This attack will also increase the duration of both his buff and debuff by 1 round and give him 1 Moxie. Overall, CHARON likes to have a steady generation of Shockwave, both for his Day of Remorse attack and Consternation generation, so that he can provide max power debuff and buffs on the battlefield, get dynamo and deal damage. Let's now move on and check his portraits. P1 increases the crit rate bonus per stack of Consternation to 7.5% and now goes up to 30%. The excess critical rate is also now 100%. P2 increases the dynamo stacks from I3 to 30 and Shockwave from 50 to 90. Moxie gained is also increased to 3. P3 is a damage boost to Day of Remorse, now dealing 400% mental damage with a 70% ultimate might multiplier. P4 enhances the debuff. Now the critical defense rate decrease per stack of Consternation is 7.5% with a 30% increase cap, and the damage taken increase when 4 or more Consternation stacks is increased to 40%. Lastly, P5 is an ultimate buff. Now the extra damage to Day of Remorse per stack of Consternation is 100% with an ultimate might boost increase to 12. If you're interested in getting portraits, then definitely P1 and P4 for enhanced buff and debuffs, or P2 for better quality of life thanks to the higher stacks gain. When it comes to Psychube, CHARON has his own, called Buds Yet to Bloom. Its main stat is critical rate, and the amplification bonus provides him with damage and allies with critical damage buff, as long as he's transferring dynamo into pulsing field during that round. Moving to his resonance, CHARON is using an attack-oriented build with a hyper frequency to double down on it. Now that we know how CHARON works and how to build him, let's talk about team building options. Obviously, considering majority of his kit is about dynamo and pulsing field, CHARON has a preferred group. It can be played with Lucy, Ulrich, himself and Ezra Dynamo Euphoria, or Corvus if you prefer, replacing Lucy. These two Dynamo team variations are the current best in slot team for him to shine the most. However, considering the fact that his debuff and crit rate buffs are extremely powerful and pretty generalized, he can be occasionally used to help in other teams. However, it's not really recommended to do so due to the major kit performance losses. Overall, CHARON can be considered a core unit for the new Dynamo meta, able to provide powerful buffs, debuffs, damage and execute enemies, so picking him up will definitely skyrocket your Dynamo team's performance and become an irreplaceable member. That's it for CHARON's guide. If you have any question, feel free to post a comment below or come ask me live on twitch.tv/Jakazin. Thank you for watching and see you next time.